Good afternoon, my friends! From somewhere in southern Egypt. Hello, hello! You're here, okay? And I'm gonna answer your questions. So first, before answering your questions, thank you. I want to thank Christian from Denmark, for giving me this idea of making a Q&A video, my first one. Because it's true, my channel has grown, so it's probably time to talk a little bit about myself. And sorry for those who ask me questions, and because I can't answer all the questions, so I have selected some questions, quite a lot, but I can't answer all the questions, so sorry about that. Let's go up the dune. So first question, very simple. Are you going back to Ethiopia? Yes, I am going back to Ethiopia quite soon. After Egypt, first Sudan, and then Ethiopia. What keeps you going? I think it's just, there's no great ideas, no anything behind this journey. It's just curiosity. I just like to travel, I just like to meet new people, to discover new cultures. What drives me the most is probably just curiosity. Quel a été votre pays préféré visiter? So, which is your favorite country? Which was your favorite country to visit? In the countries I visited in my life, so not only on this journey, because I've traveled a lot before, I'm not gonna say only one, but among my favorite countries to visit will be Ethiopia, Iran, and I would say Nepal. For different reasons. Nepal, the people are friendly, nature is unbelievable. Iran, the hospitality, very friendly. Secular people. Ethiopia, just a fascinating culture. The dancing, the friendliness of the people also. The nature is gorgeous in Ethiopia. Just the culture is fascinating in Ethiopia. When it is back home, where is your final destination? Actually, I don't really have a final destination. I just keep going as long as I'm happy, basically. As long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, I just keep going. So at first I said South Africa to give you need to have goals. So I said South Africa to have a target, but South Africa is not going to be the end for sure. Which country is the most hospitable and who has the best food? So, a mix of hospitality and best food. I would say Iran then, because Iran is extremely hospitable and has a great cuisine. So I would say if you have to mix hospitality and food, Iran. Bonjour from Bordeaux. What school did you graduate and what jobs did you work in? So my background. So I am originally an engineer. I graduated from a small school called e-trike in southern France. That is now called e-trike. Then I worked for 2 years in oil and gas in Paris, in La Défense. Then I traveled the world for 2 years and a half as a backpacker. And then I was laying optic fiber cables. So first working on French cable ships for 3 years. Then freelancing in Indonesia for 3 years on Indonesian cable ships. And then 1 year freelancing with the Americans on American ships. During those 7 years as working on cable ships, that's when I saved money to travel, basically, to do what I'm doing now. Quelle a été la meilleure et la pire expérience au cours de ton voyage? So what were the best and the worst experiences during my journey? Well, the worst is obviously the Bekaa Valley. Yeah, I got really scared, I got robbed. They sabotaged my bike, so obviously the worst experience. And the best experience, probably the best in my mind, is when I met Dragoslav in Bosnia, in Republika Srpska, in Rogatica, Mlin Sorak. So for me that's the best video I filmed. It was what I dreamt to film, and I managed to film it. That was the best experience. How they invited me for food and gave me so many drinks and got me completely drunk. And then it was just unbelievable this afternoon with Dragoslav and his family. That was probably the best experience on this journey. What inspired your journey? Probably it's not nothing that fancy. It's just like I was working so as an engineer in La Défense in a big building, in a big glass tower, and I was bored. I was very bored. So I was looking for things. I was just wandering in the internet and looking for things to do. I stumbled on blogs of guys traveling with bicycles, and that's when I thought, that looks cool. That looks less boring than working in an office. So then that's how I got the idea. Then 10 years ago I tried with a bike, but after 2 days I failed, and then I went as a backpacker. But this time, thanks to the e-bike ID, I tried again, and this time it worked. So, but originally it was just boredom inspired me, and I looked for things to do, and I found guys doing that, and I thought, well, why not doing it? A question from Gaurish, my friend from India, from my internship in India. How many years ago? 15 years ago. How and when are you planning to go to Asia? For example, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Indonesia, China. I will go to Asia, but. So okay, let's tell you about my real plan for this journey, because the plan is so big that you can't really talk about it because people won't believe you. Maybe now that you've seen the very beginning, maybe you think you'll believe me more. So the plan is to go first to Africa because I'm young now. I'm not so old. I'm 37, so I think it's better to do Africa first because it's probably the hardest continent to do, so that's why I start with Africa. So the plan is to basically somehow go down through the east coast to South Africa, then back up to Europe via the west coast, so via Congo, Cameroon, Ghana, Senegal, up to Spain, and then once I will be back up in Europe, probably cross again Europe towards Asia this time, so then towards Iran, India, all the way to Indonesia. But that's a long time. I travel very slowly, so that's a long time from now. So to answer your question, Gaurish, I will come to see you at some point, but not very soon. So because probably I would say Africa, I think it's gonna take me 4 or 5 years to go to go all the way around Africa, basically. And I imagine I'll take more time for Europe next time I reach Europe. So I would say probably 7 to 8 years before I reach India. I don't know. That's what I think now. It could change. I don't mind changing my plans, but that would be the plan now. Probably 7 or 8 years before I reach India. But once I reach India, I will probably stay a long time. Probably, if I can, probably at least a year in India. Yeah, so that's the time scale approximately for when I will reach Asia. How do you pay for your trip? Savings. Well, now with the money from YouTube, from Patreon, the first year was I was relying on savings. Just savings from when I was working on the cable ships. My family watches your videos every week. What was your motivation for this trip? So basically my motivation is quite simple. It's just I do that because I know what I like in life, what I like to do in my life is to travel. So I just do what makes me happy, basically. That's why. Even if I would not do a YouTube channel, I would live the exact same life. So I just live the life I want to live, basically, without caring about what people think or what people think what a normal life should be. I just live the life I like to live, and that's all. So my motivation to do that is just to be happy because I've studied myself a lot and I know that that's what makes me truly happy. That's all. Where did your love for travel and adventure come from? Well, probably part of it is from my mother because she likes to move also. She did not travel much, but she has this, she was always talking about that. So probably a bit from my mother, and then, I don't know, I'm not someone who, I don't feel I belong anywhere for some reasons. So then I just like to be on the move. I don't really know where it comes from. That's just the way I am. It's just
That's it. Yeah, it's. I observed myself as being like that. I did not. I just saw that. That's what makes me happy. I don't know. I don't really fully understand why I am like that. How much money does the overall trip cost? The overall trip, I don't know. In average, before I was earning money from YouTube, I was spending about $1,000 or euros per month. Now I'm probably spending more than 1,500, between 1,000 and 2,000 somehow per month. So now it's been 15 months I'm on the road. Probably, let's say, an average of 1,500 euros or dollars per month. You just multiply by 15 months and you'll see the cost. Hello! Before traveling to a new country that you don't know, how do you prepare yourself? Which app do you use? Okay, so to prepare myself, what I did before leaving, when I was working on the ships, I had a job where I had sometimes it was busy, but most of the time I had just some things to watch, just watch computers and make sure everything goes right. But it was not active; it was passive. So I had a lot of time to kill because I was working 12 hours every day, 7 days a week. So then, during my last job, what I did is I quickly read all the lonely planets in the world, and I made summaries of them. So that's my basis about to know where I want, what do I want to visit in the country. And then for more practical things, for money and visas, I mostly rely on now on Facebook groups for the Middle East and Africa. Also forums. There is a forum called Voyage Forum in French for the visas. But then I don't prepare that much actually anymore, because in the end the only things you need to know, if you don't really care what you're gonna see, if you just want to see normal life in the country, because it's what I want to see now, then the only thing you need to know is how to get money in the country and how to get the visa. So yeah, that's it. You just need to get those informations from somewhere in the internet, mostly on Facebook now, from Facebook groups. So, and for the money, it's just about knowing whether you can use your credit card or not in the country. If you can't use the credit card, then you have to come with cash or use Western Union. But what app do I use then? Yeah, Facebook. Overlander also for the visas. That's it. Do you miss your home, your friends? No, now I'm just used to my life. For me, it's normal. I don't miss home. I don't miss friends. That's the way I live since more than 10 years. So it's normal for me now. And home actually, it's funny because that's actually one of the reasons why I like to travel. Also, it's actually I don't like to have a home. If I have a home and I look at myself in the mirror and I think, 20 years from now, I will be in the exact same place in front of the same mirror, I want to kill myself. I think this cannot happen. I have to do something to avoid this situation. So then that's why I just move and go to travel. I don't like to have a home actually. What has been your favorite country to visit so far on your journey? So if I talk about this journey on the back, the journey you've seen in YouTube, my favorite country so far is Lebanon. Have you ever peed at any attractions? From Dudu Dalala, Justin, oh my god. So it's a friend, a Malaysian friend from Cairo. Not recently as far as I know. The bike name, it's an ASUP Typefly 26. You have been solo traveling for a long time. Do you ever feel loneliness? Do you ever feel lonely? Sometimes, not often actually, but yeah, like when you spend a long time in countries where like when I was in Iraq, people are very friendly, but you don't really make true connections with the people. So in the end, you every day during 3 months, you go back to your hotel, you have no friends, nobody to talk to. And so it gets lonely, yeah. When it's like this for 3 or 4 months, after some time you start to feel a little bit lonely. But then in normal countries, let's say in other places, then I go to hostels and then I have friends in the hostels. I make new friends, and then you don't feel lonely anymore. So most of the time I would say no. But yeah, if it's like a long time without going to a hostel or without making like normal friends, then yes, after 3 or 4 months, then I start to feel lonely. But I am very solitary. I'm someone I'm happy with myself, so I could stay like 2-3 months with like not many people to talk to. I don't care. I'm happy with myself. From your experience, which country has the best food? So I will take from, not from this journey, but from where I've been in my life, I would say for me, definitely China. Hey, I watched since your first videos. Why did you choose e-bike over normal bike? E-bike over normal bike because I tried with a normal bike 10 years ago and I failed. I pushed too hard at the beginning. I had very strong knee pain, but also it was probably just too brutal for me. So I chose an e-bike because I don't look for the physical effort. I like to do some sport on the way, so I'm happy with the effort I do, but I'm not looking for a huge effort, and I don't try to prove myself that I can cross continents on a normal bicycle. For me, the bike is just a tool to meet people, because it's so much easier to meet people with a bicycle than when you travel with a car. So yeah, basically for me the bike is just a tool to force myself to travel slowly also, because I like to travel slowly, and to force myself to go through areas where tourists don't go, and to force to make that I'm more open to the outside world and to meet people, basically. Name one place in the world where you have not been and which you are most excited to visit. Without hesitation, Afghanistan. If you had to stay in one country for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? Also, almost without hesitation, Spain. They have probably the best quality of life in the world, I would say. Their culture is it's just the most pleasant country to live in, I think. Are there any countries you would like to visit but are too dangerous or unstable to do so? Right now, countries that are too unstable to go and where I really would like to visit, I would say Yemen. What are the perks of a trike instead of a bike for long distance traveling? I mean, the perks is you can't fall, obviously, so then you have much less chances of having an accident. Then with the seats, it's much less painful for the wrists, for the neck. It's a little bit painful for the knees and for the back, but it creates, there are less strains on your body with this type of bike, and also it's much easier to handle. The problem with an overloaded bicycle, with a normal bicycle, is when you have heavy bags on the wheels, it's very hard to handle the bike. While as I have 3 wheels, I don't have this issue with my bike. So just comfort, I would say, in general, the perks. How often do you use the electric boost your bike has? All the time, actually. Oh yeah, and does it make it a lot easier? So to give you an idea of the effort I make, from what I've seen when I was in Europe, when I was riding next to other cyclists, sometimes where normal cyclists I go a little bit slower than a normal cyclist, basically. So somehow the engine almost compensates completely for the weight of my bags. So it's almost as if I was traveling around the world with just my bicycle and no bags. So yeah, it just compensates for the weight of the bags. Wouldn't your journey be more pleasant if you had a company, a friend of yours? Not at all. For me, a company in my journey would be a weight, would be a liability, would be a burden. No, I like to travel alone because I think you see much more the countries, because basically the difference is if you're not alone, if you are 2 person, you will create a small cultural bubble around the 2 people. So you will live inside if I have another European traveling with me, we will create a bubble of European culture, and we would still be inside Europe in our small bubble on our bicycles. So then you just watch from your bubble, you watch the country. And so you see the country, but you don't really feel it. It's much harder to get into the country. When you are alone, you have no one to talk to, so you need to talk to people. So that breaks your bubble. When you are alone, you don't create this small cultural bubble, because you need social interactions, and so you see the country, but you also interact with the country. You live in it truly, so you feel it somehow also. So that's why for me traveling is only alone. I don't want to travel with anyone else. Who is your favorite Arabic and English singers? Arabic singer, that's probably why I love Lebanon also, is Fairuz. I was amazed. It's just fantastic to every breakfast to have to listen to Fairuz, and yeah, it's just, I love Fairuz. So Fairuz. English singer, I don't really have a favorite English singer. Maybe if I would understand the words, maybe I would be a fan of Bob Dylan, but I don't speak English good enough to understand what he says somehow, so no. So then I will answer for the French singer then. French singer, obviously Jacques Brel. In what country was it the hardest to find English French speakers? So strangely enough, because it's it's a very developed country, but strangely enough for me, well, in Turkey, people just don't speak English. If you go away from Istanbul and the main tourist areas, absolutely nobody speaks English. It's unbelievable. And they were actually, it's very funny because they were saying, sorry, it's just they don't teach us at school. Would you consider your e-bike reliable overall? Yeah, definitely. It's extremely reliable. Well. Yeah, it's true, I broke the engine, so I would say no, I don't. I mean, I would say everything is very reliable except the engine, because I broke it once. So is it reliable? Yes, everything is very reliable except the engine. Ciao, Eve. Are you married? No, I'm not married. What's your job? My job now is to make videos on YouTube. So, have you contracted some type of travel assistance in case you need it? The insurance thing. I'm not very good with insurance. So no, I don't have travel insurance, though I do have a French. I have the French Social Security, but I paid for it on a voluntary basis, and then I have it worldwide. It's called the CFE for the French. Maybe it's stupid, I don't know. Maybe I'll get it one. Maybe I will get one at some point. If something happens to me, I guess I'll pay for it, and that's all. What can I do? Out of all the countries you've been in, what's the most safe country and the most friendly and the most hospitable and generous? The safest country I've been to in my life is probably New Zealand, I would say. The most friendly countries. It's very subjective because it depends a lot on your own culture. I mean, for me, I was amazed by the Serbs, like how friendly they were. In the past, I find, like, of course, Iranians are extremely friendly. I get along very well with Iranians. Armenians also extremely friendly. Ethiopians are not. I mean, sometimes it's a country which is very difficult to travel, but in the big cities I find Ethiopian people extremely friendly, really. For me, I make friends very easily in Ethiopia. Yeah, that's it. The most hospitable and generous, I would say, oh yeah, definitely it's Tajikistan. Tajik people are unbelievable. In the mountains, when I was in Tajikistan 10 years ago, I would not even need to book an accommodation. You arrive in the village, you just sit on the sidewalk and someone is gonna tell you, just come to my house. So I would say Tajikistan. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm also fascinated by Afghanistan, because I think Afghan people are probably among the most hospitable people, maybe the most hospitable people in the world. It's very related to the very harsh climate. Tajikistan has a very harsh climate also in the mountains, so probably that's surely why. But in Tajikistan, the hospitality was beyond belief, really. Oh yeah, I have a quick question from Barefoot Jeff. Do you have your route planned for Africa the whole way, or just plan as you go? I just plan as I go, because I mean I have a rough route, but then I plan as I go because it depends on so many things, so you have to be flexible, so I just plan as I go. A quite different question. Hi Yves, I hear you have a lot of interest in the arts. I was wondering, what are your favorite French writers? Indeed, I love art. So favorite French writers? That's something, very good question. I really like this question. For the poets, Arthur Rimbaud, of course. That's actually why I discovered Ethiopia. I discovered Ethiopia thanks to him, because he lived for 7 years in Harar in eastern Ethiopia. So Ethiopia somehow is a kind of poetical pilgrimage for me. Poets, of course, Charles Baudelaire, probably, I mean, they're very different. Rimbaud revolutionized the international poetry because he destroyed all the structures. So he's unbelievable in this sense, and he wrote among the most beautiful poems in French. But Baudelaire, as a poet, has his work is much bigger and much and also fascinating. So yeah, Rimbaud and Baudelaire. For the writers, for literature, I used to be a huge fan of Balzac. I still like him a lot, but I don't consider him as the greatest French writer anymore. During COVID gave me the chance, the lockdowns gave me the chance to actually discover Proust, Marcel Proust. So it's the longest, he wrote the longest, I think probably the longest book ever written. And during the lockdowns, some French actors, some French theater actors were reading it during the lockdowns. So I listened to this book during 5 months, 1 hour every day, and it was a pure beauty. I mean, French language written like that is unbelievable, is unbelievably beautiful when it's so well written. But the best one in terms of quality of writing would be probably, well, very controversial, but Louis Ferdinand Céline, which I read not so long ago actually, The Voyage au bout de la nuit. Unbelievable. It's like Proust is more like all the beauty and all the cancan and all the bourgeois France, all the beauty of the sophisticated French culture and Céline is the opposite. Is the beauty of the dirt, the beauty of trash, the beauty of I don't know how you say that in English, of the beauty of the horror somehow. It's like, but it's, for me, The Voyage au bout de la nuit is the most beautiful book I ever read. It's like, it's very hard, very rough, very dirty somehow, very filthy, but it's unbelievably beautiful. So my favorite French writer, I mean, his life was of course very controversial because he participated in the Third Reich, but as if you separate the man and the writer, as a writer, Céline is probably the best, for me, the best French writer ever. And I will finish with some extra questions from the man who inspired me this video, so from Christian from Denmark. Do you only use paper maps, or what about Google Maps when traveling? I use Google Maps almost all. Actually in Europe I was using Google Maps. Now I use like Maps.me, or I don't use Maps.me, I use mappy.cz. But it's the exact same. It's just the display, the map is a little bit different, but basically it's offline maps like Maps.me. So that's what I use all the time for when I ride the bike. In Google Maps was very good in Europe because you could choose ride with the bicycle, and Google Maps would find you a way to go with a bike. So Google Maps was great for that, but Google Maps outside of Europe doesn't have the option for a bicycle. So then I have to pretend to be a car, and then it's a bit complicated. So I'd rather use offline maps then. Do you keep phone call with your family at home? I am not a phone person at all. My family don't like phone, I think, either. So no, I don't call. I never call. I send a WhatsApp message from time to time, that's all. But phone calls, no, I don't like phone calls. How do you edit your videos? Do you carry a laptop around with you? Yes, I edit all my videos myself, so I do carry a laptop with me. Do you use Wi-Fi on hotels to upload videos, or do you have a phone with unlimited data? No, I use whether Wi-Fi from the hotels, or otherwise I buy a SIM card in the country where I am, and I use the data from the SIM cards. Do you buy new clothes as you go? Yes, I do buy. I'm very bad with buying clothes. Well, now this is new, for example. But as you saw before, and maybe you didn't see the videos yet, but I have a lot of T-shirts with a lot of holes now, and I still wear them because I don't like to buy clothes. So it's really, I only buy clothes when I really need it, when there is no other option. But yeah, I buy on the way then. How do you know so much about history where you go? Basically what I do is, I've traveled a lot before, so in the places where I've been before, I probably know already a bit of the history. You know the history by talking to other people, like in hostels, or the tourists, or the locals running the hostels. And if I don't know enough, then what I do is I read a little bit the Wikipedia page about the country, about the city, and then I know a little more. So yeah, so it's whether by talking to people or in the past, to know the history, I used to read always. I used to have guidebooks. Now I don't have them anymore. I don't use them anymore. But when I had guidebooks, I used to read the history pages. Very good to have a very short version, a very brief version of the history of the country. Now I use Wikipedia to know a very quick version of the history of the country. What other interests do you have? It's funny because actually my hobbies when I was working, well now I'm working actually, but it doesn't feel like working because I do what I like actually. It's funny. My hobbies were, I love cinema, so now what I'm doing is not cinema, but still I do films. So it's funny because I was very passionate about cinema. Like yesterday, today is the 14th. Yesterday, Jean-Luc Godard died. I'm a huge fan of Jean-Luc Godard. Pierrot le Fou, À bout de souffle, oh my God, Le Mépris. So I'm a big fan of cinema, mostly old cinema, the French New Wave, the Hollywood of the golden age of Hollywood, the 30s, 40s, 50s, Ingmar Bergman, Iranian cinema. Nowadays, probably the best cinema in the world, I would say, for me, is Iranian cinema. They have an amazing inventivity, so it's really crazy what they do there in Iran, what the artists, what the directors do in Iran. So hobby cinema, and my hobby was traveling, but now that's what I do in of my life. So except that, I just like to do a bit of sport just to keep myself in the correct shape, but that's just for health. At what age did you start becoming a nomad type of person? At 26. What other country have you lived in besides France? Actually, I only lived in France, but I worked 3 years in Indonesia, but I was working on ships, so when I was in Indonesia, I was always on the ships, so I saw the people on the ships, but I did not really visit the country, and I did not live anywhere really because we were moving all the time. So, but still, I kind of lived in Indonesia, a bit of Malaysia also. So I kind of lived in Indonesia, Malaysia a little bit, but I didn't have a stable home when I was there. What do you really mean when you say nomad? Did you live in another country for 1-2 years and then move to a new country before? When I say I'm a nomad since 11 years, it's because just physically I was moving all the time, all year round. So, and I would never settle somewhere for more than 2-3 months, basically. So in this sense, since 11 years, I've never lived in the same house for more than 3 months, probably 3 consecutive months. Yeah, when I mean nomad is because physically I've been moving all the time. Since 11 years, I don't really have something you call home, basically. Personal question, do you have, and that will be the last question, do you have a wife and kids? No, no wife, no kids. And my lifestyle, I know that's what I like, so I will never change my lifestyle now. Well, I think I will never change my lifestyle, so it's probably complicated with the lifestyle I have to have a wife and kids. So I doubt I will have, but who knows.